Welcome to ADX Prep Part 1, FAA Regulations. Let's get started. Under Part 121, when is a takeoff alternate required for dispatch? A takeoff alternate is required when the weather at the departure airport is below the landing minimums for the intended aircraft and runway. How far away can a takeoff alternate be for a two-engine aircraft under Part 121? The takeoff alternate must be within 1 hour of flight time at normal cruising speed with one engine inoperative. What are the standard weather minimums for listing an alternate airport with a precision approach? At least 600 feet ceiling and 2 statute miles visibility. What is the fuel requirement for a domestic flight under Part 121? Enough fuel to fly to the destination, then to the alternate, if required, and then for 45 minutes at normal cruising speed. Under FAA regulations, how long must a dispatcher retain a dispatch release? A dispatcher must retain a dispatch release for at least 3 months. When is a destination alternate not required under Part 121 regulations? If the forecast shows at least 2,000 feet ceiling and 3 statute miles visibility for 1 hour before and after the ETA. Who is jointly responsible for the pre-flight planning, delay, and dispatch release of a flight? The pilot in command, the PIC, and the dispatcher. What must a dispatcher consider before releasing a flight under Part 121? Weather reports, forecasts, NOTAMs, aircraft performance, and fuel requirements. What is the minimum notification time for a law enforcement officer, LEO, to advise an airline they will be traveling armed? At least 1 hour before departure. When must supplemental oxygen be provided for crew members? At cabin pressure altitudes above 25,000 feet MSL? Supplemental oxygen must be used immediately after 30 minutes at cabin pressure altitudes above 25,000 feet. When must passengers wear seatbelts under Part 121 regulations? During taxi, takeoff, landing, and whenever the seatbelt sign is illuminated. What is the maximum duty period for flight crew under FAR Part 117 based on start time and number of segments? Between 9 and 14 hours depending on start time and number of scheduled segments. What is the minimum number of fire extinguishers required for an aircraft with a passenger seating capacity of 100? At least 2 fire extinguishers. What is the maximum flight time allowed for flight crew in 24 hours under Part 121 supplemental operations? 8 hours for unaugmented crews, 12 hours for augmented crews. How many flight attendants are required for an aircraft with 151 passengers? At least 4 flight attendants, 1 FA for 50 passengers or fraction thereof. When must a dispatcher amend or redispatch a flight under Part 121? When weather conditions change significantly, when there are changes to the flight plan, or when it is necessary for safe operation. How long must a carrier retain training records for flight crew members under Part 121? At least 12 months after the individual leaves the carrier's employment. What is the oxygen supply requirement for passengers at cabin altitudes above 15,000 feet? Each occupant must be provided supplemental oxygen. How often must a flight crew member undergo recurrent training under Part 121? Every 12 calendar months. What are the requirements for a flight data recorder under Part 121? Aircraft must have an approved flight data recorder capable of recording specific flight parameters. What are standard alternate minimums for airports with only non-precision approaches? 800-foot ceiling and 2 statute miles visibility. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe for more ADX prep and aviation training with AirNyx.